Hello, everybody. I am here for my review of Ryan Murphy's latest piece called The Prom. This came out, I believe, last weekend on Netflix, and it stars a huge ensemble of cast. You've got Meryl Streep, Nicole Kidman, James Corden, Keegan-Michael Key, Kerry Washington. Um, big cast of people, and a pretty, I would say, divisive film. I remember hearing a lot of weird, I mean, not weird, but I mean, weird now, for me, because now seeing the film, but um, very divisive responses for the film. I've not seen a lot of unanimous things for it. A lot of people take issue with certain performances, particularly with James Corden, and um, it's been quite a hit or miss for a lot of people. So going into this, just to state it, I had some low expectations, not just because of the um, the divisive nature the film was given, but also because I just don't aesthetically I was not knowing how I was gonna feel because the trailer didn't do any justice for me. I thought it was kind of a throwaway, to be honest. Um, Now upon seeing it, um, I can definitely tell you this with confidence that this film, in my personal opinion, bar none, is extremely fun. This was an extremely fun ride that um, that does have issues, mind you. There are some issues, some very problematic issues, if I do say so myself. But just to state right off the bat, I had a really fun time with this movie. I really did. So let's start out with the positives about the film first, before we jump into the issues that people are talking about. Um, the ensemble itself is great. It's a great ensemble that they put together. Meryl Streep in particular, I know that there's this weird mentality nowadays that, oh, Meryl Streep, she's always good, whatever, forget Meryl Streep. No, Meryl Streep is great. I mean, she is one of the best out there for a damn reason, and she continuously proves it, and she proves it here with The Prom. She is great in this movie. As is all around. I mean, in general, yes, including James Corden. I also think that he was fairly good in the film as well. Um, and I found the film in general to be extremely charming. I was very surprised by how charming the film was and how infectiously charming. Sorry, I was trying to put that word together. Infectiously charming the film really is. You are pulled into these characters. You're really pulled into the atmosphere, and it's a lot to do with the musical numbers as well, which are very entertaining and fully realized. They're not just one notes. They are above and beyond. They really uh, they don't shorthand you with the music numbers. They really go all out with what they can do. Um, and It does also have, I said, a really, or if I haven't said already, it has a very flattering beating heart at the center of it that does have good intentions with it. However, there are issues with it. There are issues with this in terms of its narrative purpose. Um, Now, if I forgot to mention what the movie is about. Obviously, in a movie called The Prom, it's about a. This is where I now meant talk about my negatives, because I'm going to explain what the film is about and explain why said message was not given or translated well. So the movie The Prom is about a young girl who is trying to go to her prom, and she can't because the whole school is against her being a lesbian. She is, of course, a lesbian. She is part of the LGBTQ community, and a lot of the people at her school are against it, and thus she is not having the privilege to be at prom. Then come along a bunch of celebrities who have just come off a lot of failed gigs and are looking to bring their careers back to some front. So they believe if they help this girl, this would help give them good press. This would help them put them on the top again. And of course, you know how this type of premise goes. They meet, find the morals and the beauty of this and that. They you know the premise. Um, but um, the point that what the movie is ultimately trying to get across is this idea of inclusion. That's what the movie is really about. And before I touch on my main point, which I believe is going to be a controversial point. Let me address the other things that are wrong with it before we get to the actual meat of what I really want to talk about. First things first, I think that it has overstated its welcome music-wise. There are too many music numbers. I mean, every 5 minutes there is a music number. And I don't want to hear that that's how musicals operate, okay? I watched La La Land, and there was a huge chunk of that film where Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone are just talking. Singing in the Rain, most famously, one of my favorite musicals of all time. Even that knows when to pause, okay? This film just thinks that every 5 minutes, if I just hand you a little bit of information, that should be enough for you to just move forward. And generally it does, but you just become oversaturated and annoyed by how many music numbers there are. It just becomes repetitive. And I just got a little tiresome of it. But like 30 minutes before we ended it, the movie was like about to end in like 30 minutes, and I would just pause it, and I was like, God, we have 30 more minutes of like these songs. And just to give credit, the songs themselves are fun. They're again fully realized and extremely entertaining to watch. And I think that for the most part, I like what the messaging that they carry. And I do also think that in some manner or another, it is kind of up its own ass, narratively speaking. Because the other thing that I have issue with, which is where we get to my controversial point, is that I think that the messaging and its representation is troubling. And here's why. There is a number in this film that addresses religious beliefs, and the song is basically the filmmaker's kind of saying, hey, fuck your religious beliefs, it's not really my importance, even though the film is about inclusion and we shouldn't care about, this and that, but fuck your beliefs, we don't really want that here, we still want inclusion, just not that particular part, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it kind of goes against itself in many ways. And I think that the song, it's a song that says go against religious beliefs, yet the song represents religion in some capacity. Like, that's just weird. You know what I mean? That's just really, really weird. And I did not like that. I think that that's very, very troubling and very problematic. And I understand now when I saw that happen, and more or less how the film was representing the LGBTQ community, and it does become a little troublesome. And I do understand now why the film is a bit controversial. And to be honest, it is still a fun time. I mean, don't get me wrong. I still had a great time with it, and at face value. But once I started to notice that message appear, I did start to question my overall feelings of the film, because I think that was kind of irresponsible to take it that step further. Now, you're allowed to have your opinion on something. You're allowed to represent whatever you see fit, and how you represent it is fine. It is my job, though, to tell you how I feel about that representation. And in my view of that representation, I felt that it really went against itself in many ways. And I think that the overall message and representation that it wishes to portray becomes very muddled and really problematic, and is kind of choosing things over others. Yet the film wants to portray this idea of inclusion. Like, it does not know how to handle its message well. And just as in the small thing about James Corden, like, I think James Corden was fine in the film. I don't quite know what the controversy is surrounding his character. Apparently there's something revolving around, again, in the LGBTQ community, that is that people had take issue with James Corden's character. The only real issue that I had with him, he's fine. He wasn't like great, like Meryl Streep great, or Nicole Kidman fun, or Keegan-Michael Key interesting enough. He was just fine. Like, he was just fine. It's more or less what's wrapped around him that makes him fine. On his own, if he was just not doing any musical numbers or anything, he's okay. The issue I had with him was his accent. His accent was so distracting. Like, like during his music numbers, I could hear it just going on and off. I think that At the end of the day, though, like I put it this way, like at face value, it is very, very fun. It is obviously a big passion project for everybody involved. And if you look at it at face value, it works. It's flattering, it's charming, it's entertaining from its its fully realized music numbers to its compelling ensemble. However, once you start to look at the message that it holds and how it tries to present said message, it does become problematic in many ways. Um, as I do believe it has a very narrow-minded approach to being inclusive. I really, really do believe that, and I don't think that that's a great way of representing such message. Um, Other than that, though, I still cannot deny how much fun I had with it. It is very, very fun. It's heartwarming. It's just fun. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's just a fun time. And I really do think that you would enjoy it. It's a pretty good holiday film, I would say. For a December release, this is actually a fairly good December release. Um, so while I do take issues with with its politics, and while I do think the music numbers do overstate their welcome, and I don't think the film gives us enough pause to digest characters, it is still a fun ride worth taking. And yes, I did almost cry. And at, I think that um, it does hit on some emotional beats that I think do work, but it does have a message that does become troublesome once you dissect it. But if you walk into it face value, like I did, I think you'll have a fun time with the prom because as it stands, as you just watch it for what it is, as how it is, and not really thinking too hard about it. I try not to say like that for people who want to watch a film. You watch a film however you want to. As I said, at face value, this is a very fun ride. You start looking at it more, there are a lot of issues with it in terms of its politics. Um, but like I said, this thing made me cry. It almost made me cry. So, and I can't deny the fun that I had with it. And I just think that it does have a hard time getting its message across to people. A great message, a great um, uh, ensemble, and a really, really passionate overall direction just doesn't hit in terms of presenting said message and representing such message. And it does become problematic and become very, very, very hard to digest once you start to unravel what the movie is really about. But at face value, in terms of just a viewing experience, I had a fun time with it.